The AMX 50B is a Tier 10 French auto-loading heavy tank. It's available on the tech tree, and weirdly enough, even though this vehicle has not seen many changes throughout the years, it is still one of the strongest performing Tier 10 heavies for anybody that understands how to use it, no matter what metas are existing in the game. If it's M6Yos or 60 TPs, you got the 200 LTs and the Vickers Lights, this tank still seems to power through and do incredibly well. What makes the 50B so strong? Well, you might think it's the armor, as it weighs in at 62 tons, but anybody that's ever fought this tank or driven it knows that clearly the armor is not the main selling point of this tank. Now yes, it does have some pretty good spots on it. Frontally, its upper and lower plate, as Happy will tell you, is quite good at getting bounces. You can get a lot of players that are inexperienced and bounce right off that upper plate. Even the lower plate using heat ammunition will still actually get quite a few bounces on it. Very, very thick. But the turret, not great. The turret, it's better than it used to be as Wargaming buffed it. And I can tell you from experience that shooting at the turret is pretty troll. I mean, if you're in a light tank and you're shooting at the upper plate of the turret when it's hull down, you can actually get quite a few bounces, but for the most part, you don't really expect to get bounces. The only reason why I would say I bounce the turret occasionally is because I'm too stubborn to load heat shells, and I think it's going to pen with an AP, and it doesn't. But if you were to load premium on a 50B turret, you would pen every time, so I wouldn't really trust it. The side armor on the tank is horrendous. It's 35 millimeters thick. That means that really any 105 millimeter or greater with 3 calibers rule in mind is going to overmatch the side armor easily. That's a pretty big weakness. If you just shoot the track wheel of the 50B, you pen it almost every time. It doesn't matter what shooting at your track wheel. Even if it's an 85-degree angle, it'll go right through and cut through the tank, penetrating it. So that's another big weakness. Its sides, as they are only 35, that means that even the smallest caliber guns, like the T100 LT, can easily butter through your sides with HE ammunition. But the tank also goes 50 kilometers per hour. It carries a 1200 damage clip that it can dump out all in 6 seconds, and it has 3000 damage per minute. It has fantastic standard and premium penetration, and its top speed of 50 is also bolstered by a 23 power-to-weight ratio, meaning that it's almost double the effective power-to-weight ratio of an IS-7. The 50B is really a weird tank. It's a one-trick pony on its clipping potential and where you drive it, but it can do so many things on the battlefield, which is what makes it such a great comp tank. I mean, just for example, I've seen quite a few teams, including mine, using 50Bs this season alone. They're great for dealing with IS-7s, they're great for dealing with T100 LTs, and it's just a fantastic tank overall. So let's see what it's got when we finally do load into a battle. Here we are in our first game on Yukon. And I'm actually going to be playing these two battles on touch. I don't know why, I just logged in on touch and I figured why not play some games and then see how it works out. So what do we have on the enemy team? We got an E100, an FV215B183, an IS-4, an M60, an Object 268, a Progetto 65, sorry, I had to make sure I pronounced that correctly. And then finally they have a WZ-113 GFT, making their entire team a Tier 10 matchup. Now we got some strong heavies, we got a 60 TP, Jagdpanzer is kind of a heavy tank, but apart from that, we ain't got no other heavies. And the thing about a 50B is you gotta realize is that it's really not a heavy. Like, you can play it like a heavy and run it frontline, but you'll probably die fairly quickly. I like to drive it up against mediums. If I'm on Canal, let's say, for example, I'm going to be pushing it to D side all day. But, at the same time, if you aren't careful, you'll probably bleed and be outspotted by the mediums. It's a very, very situational playstyle that you really have to understand to do well with. So there's an IS-4, and there's one shell into the IS-4's lower plate. There's 2 shells into his lower plate. And we actually did not get penetrated by that IS-4. It looks like the WZ-111 hit me for 600 right through the turret. As I did say, the turret's a pretty big weak spot, but even though we received 600 damage, we were able to deal double that in 1200 to the enemy team. So, I mean, that's still a pretty worthy trade if you want to ask me. Either way, there's the M60 dealing with our FV4202. I'm just trying to think of what I want to do right now, because I obviously don't want to be pushed on by vehicles like the enemy E100, but I also want to get some nice shells in, so I'm going to push up aggressive like this over here. Let's see if we spot any tanks. No, doesn't look like there's any vehicles over here right now. We got the IS-4 off to the side, and oh boy, there you go, an enemy object 268. We bounce our first shell on him, and the IS-4 actually ends up missing us, but there's the E100 coming up behind us. Well, that's about the end of me. I really don't know what else to say. This is what happens in the AMX50B if you put yourself in a pretty poor situation. This was 100% my fault, as I could have played this a bit better, but I decided not to. So let's see if we can get a bounce. Oh, wow, we actually did get a bounce from the E100. So there's one shell into his turret ring. There's two shells into his turret ring. We even max rolled that one, and let's go for his lower plate. Nice. All right, now we can start backing up. Hopefully this E100, whoa, ooh, he really, really low rolled me, which is actually fantastic news for me. I am going to start backing up though, because we're actually in the clear. I was going to say I should be dead. To be honest, I'm going to be completely honest. I should be dead. That E100 really, really low rolled me. I played that bad. I put myself in a poor situation, but looks like the Wargaming gods were a little bit nice to me, and because of that, we might just possibly get out of this very, very poor situation alive. But I don't know. Looks like that WZ is coming at me full speed ahead, which is obviously not what I want. We also got the E100 off to the side. Let's go for a tracking shell on that E100, which is perfect because that meant my teammate could finish him off. And maybe let's load in some premium ammunition. There's a one shell into the WZ, and let's go for two shells and continue backing up. And again, my YAG was able to support me once again, finishing off the WZ-113. If you use teammates, you can do very well in this game. Even if they're not the best teammates, as long as they know how to penetrate, you should be fine. So because of that, we were able to get some pretty decent damage out there. We got the M60 off to the side. There's a one shell into the M60. We also got the 183 over here. So let's go for one into the 183. And would you look at that? A game that I thought I was going to do absolutely terrible in. We have completely turned the tides on. And now we're actually probably above 4,000 damage. Now, I wouldn't suggest to do what I did there. That was pretty lucky. Like, really, really, really lucky. But let's get that shell out. Beautiful snap into the M60. And there you have it. But yeah, next time I should probably pay a bit more attention. I mean, if you even pay attention to what I said when I was pushing into that spot, I was kind of worried about that E100 coming up behind me. That's something you really got to worry about, is if you put yourself in a position that you can't back out of, you're gonna die. I got lucky that the E100 wasn't a great player, so he bounced the first shell on my gun because I was able to face hug him and stick my gun into his gun. So basically, he didn't know that that probably counts as a hitbox and actually ended up bouncing that shell because of that. And the second shell was just pretty unfortunate for him. He ended up low rolling a shot that, yeah, let's just be honest, RNG cucked him over on. We still probably would have won that, but it definitely would have been a lot harder for our team to come out with a victory. With that aside, though, you can still see where the AMX50B can be fantastic. When you get those clips out, the tank feels amazing. But you just make sure you don't do things like that where you put yourself in a situation that you can very easily get killed in. Against any good player, I would have been dead there. So that's one thing to keep in mind about the 50B. Here we are, finally, in a game. This took an incredibly long amount of time, but it has finally happened. I really, really lost a couple brain cells sitting in queue there. So let's see what our team has and what the enemy team has. We have a AMX50B, which is me. We have a Chieftain Mark 6, Foch, and wow, we really don't have a lot of heavies. Well, hopefully my team does support me, because the 50B, as we saw in the previous game, does rely on its team to support it. The enemy team is an IS-4, a T95E6. They got a YAG Tiger and a Chieftain Mark 6 for their more heavily suited lineup. So I'm going to sit right here, and yeah, I guess I'll just sit with my clip loaded. The thing about the 50B is you got to be careful, because, yeah, when you expose that front track wheel, you will be penned. But you got to clip, so even if I get penned, the idea is that I'm going to clip somebody for a lot more than they're going to hit me for. There's the Hori off to the side, who, well, shouldn't be able to do anything to me, which is nice. All right. Be careful. There's one of their tank destroyers, though, and judging that the Hori is one of the deadlier ones, let's poke over here. Let's just see if anybody gets detected. Hello? Interesting. That actually is pretty interesting, I've got to be honest. Nobody spotted over here, which would mean by default that their team is most likely on the other side of the map, or not, or they're right over here. All right, well, there's one shell out, which is good. I will definitely take a penetration if I can get one. We got the Object 84 pushing off to the side, and the YAG Tiger is flat off to the side. Ooh, that's a Chieftain Mark 6 who fired, so there's one shell into the Mark 6. There is two shells in the Mark 6, and one of my teammates, being the Foch 155, got a shell in as well, which is pretty sweet. The bad news is that my Foch is running the single shotgun. I don't know about that. That's pretty iffy decision if you ask me. But, I mean, I guess it's working, so I'll take it. Let's reload. We got 3 more seconds left, and we will have a full clip ready for the raking again. So here we go. We got a Chieftain Mark 6. Let's get 1 shell into the Mark 6. An incredible low roll. There's 2 shells into the Mark 6. That was an okay roll, and there you go. We still managed to roll decent on that final shell, finishing him off. Alright, not bad. A bounce on the hull of our AMX 50B. I guess that guy just kind of panicked, didn't realize that we were going to be looking at him, so that's fine. We got the IS-4 over here, who I'm not even going to worry about. We're going to push right past, because I want to try and get out some damage this game. All that's left that I really think I can get some damage out on would probably be this Yag Tiger, but maybe not. That Yag is getting absolutely buttered. Well, my turret's turning the wrong way, because gotta love wargaming there, so now my turret's turning the way I wanted to. That kind of sucks. Either way, let's push on to the object. We should be able to clear this guy in 1 easy tap. Oh, well, I guess not. I guess we're not going to be able to clear him in 1 easy tap. Well, maybe we'll get a shell or 2 into the 1-2-1. Speed, go, 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 go. All right, 1-2-1's backing up, which means maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to get a shell into him. Oh, he's running over here. All right, well, let's cut this way, which should give us a pretty easy avenue to catch the 1-2-1 on. Here we go, and nice. All right, there's 1 shell into the 1-2-1. Let's get a 2nd shell in, and there you go. Not a crazy game. We did just shy of 3,000 damage. Too bad we couldn't get a shell into that Object 84. You kind of saw my turret was really not liking me there. I guess that's one of the downsides of mobile, is if you're turning your camera while the turret is turning, sometimes it might not turn the direction you want it to. But, oh well, I guess I'll just have to get used to that. Either way, pretty good game, 2,964 damage, and, well, you can see just what the AMX 50B can do. Hopefully, all of you enjoyed today's video, and if you'd like to see more like it in the future, let me know. But other than that, I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.